Making another video. There's not really no reason to. Don't have fans. People don't care. But I'm bored. Something to do. And I've basically been thinking about, I don't know, maybe it's just my feed is all fucked up, to be fair. So, disclaimer there. My feed might be fucked up, but I've been thinking about just kind of how negatively people view the world and how kind of unrealistic their expectations are these days. In all fairness, my feed, people might say it reflects that. But I think I kind of just watch like some of this stuff because right now I'm in India doing nothing, so I'm kind of bored. And it's just, no, I don't know, it's easy entertainment, easy dopamine. But anyway, what I mean is, with their expectations is, I think this applies more to millennials than any other generation, actually. Because millennials were essentially told that, everything was going to be amazing, the future was going to be this really cool head trip. If they got their head down and did this, they'd be even more successful than the boomers and Gen Xers. Gen Xers, for some reason, weren't really fed this delusion, and Gen Z was sort of partially fed a delusion that everything was going to be amazing and it was going to be Wonderland or whatever, but also fed reality and kind of lived through the reality of that. We did as well, 2008 crash, 9/11, COVID, all that kind of stuff, I guess, but not to the same degree. So we were fed a lot of things that just weren't realistic, weren't really true back then. And I think that's actually part of it. I think people go on about millennials adapting and being a better generation. Gen Z are lazy. I would say that's patently false. I actually think that Gen Z are far more like realistic about life, but more doomeristic. So their expectations are unrealistic, but their assessment of the world isn't necessarily unrealistic, is what I would say. And I think Gen Z are actually very well adapted to this new world and very. I wouldn't say they're very realistic. They don't have delusional ideas like millennials do, but they're not entirely realistic. So I'll get through what I mean by that. So millennials were pretty much told you can become the president, you can do anything, everything's achievable, learn this, do that, buy a house, buy this, and you'll become whatever you want to become. And to be fair, that's sort of true. The people who work, 16 hours on something obsessively, even now, and they have a real passion and fire towards it, some of those people become extremely successful and they make their dreams happen. But not everybody who does that does. And some people say it's, the universe aligning. Andrew Tate's a good idea. A good example of this. Says the universe aligning. If you really wanted it, you get it. That's sort of true, but I think there are levels to it. I think there's a certain reality and nuance that people miss when it comes to that, and also the wanting it is doing when people like him and like millionaires and billionaires say it's about sacrifices that you don't see and it's about doing different things. They are right. But look, even if you follow that, especially now, hard work and, passion doesn't always determine results. I've worked plenty hard many times and fucked it up. I've wanted many things and tried really hard to get them. Generally, I've got them in the end, or the things that I've wanted to do, I've achieved. But failure is a real thing. I tried to walk through all of Europe and I got through a bit of Europe and essentially close to dying. I had to pay for tickets back to England from mainland Europe because I wouldn't have been able to survive it. It would have been impossible. Tried it again, fucked it up twice. And then I got a van, I was realistic. But walking through Europe, back then with basically no budget busking, not really possible. Because you can't. It's probably possible now, but when I did it, wasn't really possible. Because there are, there are just limits. I'm not going against the idea you should work hard and try to be passionate, try and get things you want. I'm just saying you're probably not going to get certain things, certain expectations, just really unreasonable. So I'll get onto a few. Here are a few, right? Relationships. People have got these expectations now, especially. So the guys want these virginal, like, kind of like chaste women who only eyes on them and whatever. And to be honest, that's a very recent phenomenon. Like when I was 16, 17, and I was fucking whoever, yeah. When I was doing that when I was younger, first starting to get my little bits in or whatever. Primarily, I was concerned with getting laid. If I were going to go out and do that, wasn't the greatest player. It's just that back then, people lived lives. If you wanted to go out and get laid, you didn't do bullshit overthinking. You didn't really sit on a computer. You didn't sit on a phone doing strategy. You didn't do any of that cringe stuff. You just went out, tried it. It's not working. Maybe go have fun with your boys. Maybe do something else. But it was it was easy because you didn't have the social anxiety that you do now. And I remember, when I was younger, having relationships, and even now when I'm older, I never really thought about how she slept with 50 people, how she slept with 10 people, how she slept with 5 people. What mattered then, and to me is still more important, is that she was essentially mine. We had maybe some mutual interest, not all. We don't have to be totally the same person, but there's got to be something in common, kind of. And just a desire to improve each other's lives, a bit of love between us. The rest of it is very superficial ego stuff that I'd say most people weren't interested in then and didn't expect, a super nice virginal girl. Obviously, I probably wouldn't have dated someone who'd slept with absolutely everybody I knew, either. But that, even now, that's still pretty rare. But it's a big expectation from men now. They want this super chaste woman who's never slept with anyone or had any experience ever, who never looks at other men but allows you to have several women. I mean, Andrew Tate, super rich millionaires and billionaires can do that. Yeah. But it doesn't really mean anything that they can do that. I mean, they just spoil people. Yeah, you could say they've earned it through the money or whatever. Fine, fair play. But it's just not really a realistic prospect for most people, is it? And it couldn't be achieved anyway because, and you see this in some Islamic places, but I won't get into that. But if we were all, as men, polygamous and the women were monogamous with us, something like 70, 80, 90, 95, maybe even 99% of the population would be sexless men. I mean, I think there'd be a school shooting every 5 minutes in a world like that. It'd be pandemonium. So that's not realistic anyway. But it's not realistic to expect like a girl's not gonna enjoy her life. What? The thing is, this strategy of her being chaste and waiting, when does she stop waiting? When does she stop waiting? In all fairness to her, and like at 36, does she say, this is it, I'm just going to lose my virginity to whoever? There's an opportunity cost for her to do it and for her to not do it now, yeah? So I think it's not realistic, definitely not at my age. I'm 34, I look real old right now because I've got receding hairline, crappy lighting, big beard, glasses. I'm 34. For someone my age to expect that a girlfriend, because realistically, like a girlfriend probably end up being younger than me, but not like a 20-year-old, not an 18-year-old, like 24, 25, maybe older, maybe 30, 32, it just depends. But generally, I think it'd be very delusional for me to expect them to not have slept with somebody else. And also quite shallow, really. Like, I'm going to have this person withhold their entire life for some Prince Charming. I mean, I don't think I'm much of a Prince Charming right now with this beard, right? But even if I were looking real good, I still don't think I'm worth 25 years waiting for, yeah? And I don't think any man is, personally. I don't think any man is at all. So I think, yeah, men are just viewing relationships, women as well. And men are also thinking, well, you know, there's this Me Too and there's this and there's that and blah, blah, blah. And we shouldn't, we shouldn't be making the effort and don't split bills at dates. Now, fair play, yeah, you're like an average guy making an average wage and someone takes you out and she expects you to spend $500 on a date. I'd fucking leave instantly. I get that, but a general date, you don't have to splash a lot, but show some interest, be human. Show it's not about the money, I would say. I think this is a thing with younger men. I get it, you're losing money, and a lot of younger men think it's about showing that you're gonna waste your money, give a resource. That is a bit true, but it's more that you're showing initiative and that you're prepared to take a risk on this person. Because if you're out with your missus and some guy starts trying to beat her up, if you didn't pay the meal, you're probably not going to beat this guy up. You know what I mean? You don't have the initiative. You're not prepared to take a risk. So why would she be attracted to that? It's a bit more than just providing, I would say. And also the whole not asking these girls out. I don't care about this. If you are super focused on making money and you know that you want to do a 3 to 5 year stretch of like making money and investing, that is fair. That is fair. But if you're a normal guy and you've got these delusional ideas that you're gonna do a 20-year investing block and become the next millionaire and fuck bitches, they don't mean anything. The strategy of not speaking to them ever, it's not going to work. You're just going to fuck up male and female relationships for yourself, for the women, and for everybody, because they're not going to approach you and say something first. Now, women make the first move. They'll do some body contact thing. They'll accidentally brush up against you. They'll lock eyes. They'll do stuff like that, and we miss it most of the time. We miss that signal most of the time, and sometimes we just think we see a signal and go in for a false one, and that's perfectly normal. But it was always a case of you had something to lose, you had some risk, you had some social status that you would lose with a girl if you were seen being rejected or whatever, or there'd be a bad feeling that you got rejected by this girl that you really liked. I think you should take that risk. I think that's the right thing to do, and I think it's fair for a woman to expect that. What I'm saying really is I do think men should make some effort, and they should be, they don't have to be, but they should generally be a bit less judgmental, because I feel like people look at each other now not as a personal connection, not as a person, not as a this thing or that thing. Look how we get on well together. They kind of look at each other as transactions, and I don't think that's the way forward, personally. Yeah, look at a girl and like assess, is this going to be good? Is this going to work out long term for both of us? Are we on a similar path? We have not similar ideologies, but similar ideas of where we want to be in a few years and how we want to live together and spend this time together. The answer is yes. A lot of the rest of it's bullshit, honestly. And I think being super, super judgmental about every opportunity you have, being super skeptical, is a bad idea. Like, I think we're overexposed to choice. I think everybody is uniformly delusional that because someone else has a bigger piece of the pot, and you can always see it on TikTok or Facebook whatever, and extreme job offers, extremely sexy available women, You think that you can just get that anytime. You can't. You can get the illusion of it and the delusion of it without real effort, whether that be investing and improving yourself. You're not going to get it. And you can't just reject every opportunity out of fear or out of like thinking there's going to be a better offer, because there isn't. I see it in the job market as well. I've been applying for jobs. It's rough. I totally get the Gen Z. But employers are saying that they can't find anybody. They can't employ anybody. And employees or unemployed people are saying they can't find work. And when I was, applying for jobs, they're sending like these questionnaires, 30 question questionnaires, massive questionnaires. And like they're expecting me to answer these giant questionnaires. Every website wants me to spend 20 minutes filling out an application for a job portal that I'll never use again. I'd say like 1 out of 10 jobs, say 1 out of 5 jobs, they're a bit delusional. Like the employer's saying they want a bit more than they should expect, realistically. And 1 in 10 employers or 1 in 10 job postings, entirely delusional. They're like asking to pay an entry level wage to someone who's got 4 years experience, a master's, loads of certifications. The people with this kind of experience and certifications would never accept a job for that low. Certain jobs they would, but for the most part, it just doesn't make sense. There's an illogical pairing, yeah. And it seems to me like there's analysis paralysis on both parts. Like the employers are thinking, well, we don't know if they're good, we're going to have to spend money training them, and they're this, that, and the other, and maybe something, the super special golden horse that shits gold is coming. It's not. It's a 1 in a million chance. That's why the majority of your applicants are not 1 in a million people. And they're not going to be. Yeah, they're just not going to be. So, the employer's expectations are unrealistic. And I'd say the employees as well. A lot of people apply for thousands of jobs. I see one amazing offer, another crappy offer. And I'm guilty of it as well, to be fair. And just reject a worse offer, not thinking, hang on, I should get on the job ladder now and make a shittier wage, and then I can transition to it. That thinking's gone. It's just pure ego, just pure no, that's not the market rate, and the blah blah blah. And everyone's just like this. Oh, something better's coming. Oh, better wait. You're just waiting for nothing. Just go for the opportunities that are just more or less decent and pick somebody. It's the same with the relationships, I would say. People waiting around for things to happen. People don't take action anymore in this world. Like, people just, like me, sit around. Sat in fucking India, right? In all fairness, I actually am in the transition period. I can't do much until after I have a holiday in Japan. Because I'm not super rich. There's not really much I want to do here now that I've walked around everywhere. But because the trip with my family is so soon, I kind of don't have much to do. I'm doing this, I guess. And then we'll move on from that sort of analysis paralysis. And like I said, it's both sides that have these unrealistic ideas about work, about things. Like I get loads of these business things popping up. Loads of random guys and women on my feeds, scrolling, doing this forever on a phone, saying that I should do this, do that. There's too many ideas, too many of these people, and most of these people, I don't know who the fuck they are. They're losers like me. They're nobodies. Almost all of them are nobodies. Not in a sense that they're not a person, in a sense that they're just not qualified to give any opinion on fucking anything. I'm not either, If you see this and think this sounds great, second guess it, think about it, be realistic. I could be full of shit. And a lot of the feed is just positive reinforcement of totally delusional ideas. Like if I start going through a feed of like Gossip Goblin, the cyber like the weird cyberpunk short stuff, and then I go into like transcending the universe stuff, it will send me super delusional posts about going into a cybernetic world, which in 50 years might not be delusional, but right now it's just crazy stuff. It sends you to these very delusional places, and we're getting just way too much information and thinking, and we're all trying to get the best spots and the best things, which is normal, but no one's prepared to settle and take a realistic position. And that's killing us all, because loads of people unemployed because of it, because they just decide, and I'll take only the best offer, and it must be this offer, and I'll only work these. They've imprisoned themselves in the head by taking no action. They might be unemployed for 2 years. That's 2 years worth of money gone. It would have been better for them to make 20-30% less over those 2 or 3 years. Now we can get into unemployment benefits, if the wage is lower than that, then fair enough. I can't say anything there, but in general it's not going to be. And they could take that money and do something with it, but they choose not to because of this kind of paralysis. And it's the same with these companies. They're missing something by not having this employee. A few examples. I'll tell you the types of jobs I'm looking for. I'm looking for careers looking after kids, kids with disabilities and stuff like that, which is pretty odd. You look at the beardiness and the autistic kind of analysis I'm giving and think, oh God, I wouldn't want him to be around kids, but I'm fairly good with them. I'm quite empathetic, and kind to them, and I don't have much of an ego, so 5-year-old kid tells me I'm a piece of shit or whatever, I just go, yeah, you're right, kid. Well, here's some candy. Sit down, we'll play a game. I just don't care. It's a pretty good job for me. And I've also been looking at ESL jobs in different countries: Vietnam, China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, etc., etc. Yeah, I've been looking at these, and it's just it's just crazy seeing the expectations people have. Like I said, they're sending these 30 questions, 40 pre-interview questions. Fucking interview me. I'm not going to sit here and waste 30 minutes. Now that is a ridiculous expectation. They're trying to lowball, others are trying to highball, but they're not going to take you, they're going to take someone more experienced. So there's two things that are an encounter. There are jobs that are being offered to people who are massively underqualified for them, for a really inflated salary, and they're not going to hire that person. They're going to hire the most qualified person, but they know that people who are super qualified will apply. It's quite a smart way of doing things. It's probably the best way to employ someone who's worth employing. And then there's the opposite, running counter to that, where they're asking for 50 years of experience in a entry-level job, for example, yeah. And so there's just this big disconnect between these kind of markets, really. There's a big disconnect between these things. And then, people like myself will look and go, oh, well, I don't want this mediocre job because I can get a better one. 7 years later, I can get a better this, I can get a better that. You're not looking at things objectively. So I think people are being very unrealistic about life. The other thing I'll say is standard of living and getting rich and all this stuff. To be honest, I don't think it would be that hard for me to get rich. I don't think it's that difficult to get rich. But most of the stuff I would have to do to get rich, it just doesn't feel like a part of who I am, or it just doesn't seem moral to me. For example, I could shave all this hair off. I could go bully some random people on the street, harass them mildly, and start a live, and just do that to 300 people in a day here in a high population density place like India, and I could get millions of views possibly in that same day. I'd make plenty of money, but it's immoral. It's not who I am. I don't want to I don't want to be editing stuff and making this stuff up and trying to dramatize things. And a lot of people say it's because you're lazy, it's because you're this. You don't want the opportunity, you're deluded. maybe that's a fair point, but it's not who I am. There's to me, there's a certain part of this that is about identity, and that is sometimes more important than money, and morality as well. Like the crazy Bonnie Blue stuff. I don't really see her as immoral, to be honest. But a lot of the interviews, and here's the thing, like why we're getting these unrealistic standards. Matan ripping into her, it's just cruelty. He's just bullying her for no reason. I get that it gets views and stuff, but in no way do I think that's moralistic. What's good about that? Nothing. A bunch of like random people are watching some what looks like a prepubescent boy. I know he's like 21 or something. Rip on essentially a street prostitute. It's this. I just don't really get it. It's not entertaining. It's not a good message for anyone. It shows that it's kind of putting a street prostitute in the limelight by giving them that platform and saying this is great. Why don't you be like her? Look, she's getting ripped on, but she don't care. She'll get ripped on for the money and the fame. And then you got someone like Matan who's just ripping on some. He like this is the thing people don't realize. I'm not shitting on him specifically, but he's invited her in to rip on her. I just don't get it. I don't feel a need to bully random women and random. It is funny, like it is funny, but it's not very good. Yeah, it's just not a great thing, and I think it's not something to aspire to. Right? We're aspiring to become the wrong things. We're aspiring to live in this kind of entertainment world where people just kind of cruel to each other on streams for fun. I don't really think that's funny. I don't really think it's entertaining. It's very bland. It's all very much the same thing. Subscribe, hit the like button, blah blah blah, all that shit. It's very samey, and people, if anyone's watching this, they'll say, well, this is really shit, unfiltered, non-samey content. Good. Long time ago, the internet was like that. You would go on a web page and it would be different to every other web page. Now, there are only 3 web pages, and because they're all dopamine traps, you just default to them. It's just easier. Your brain's lazy. Yeah, it's addicted to certain things. It's wired to certain things. It's hunting, trying to find something, and that satisfies that something in a moment. So you get stuck on really shit content, reels that you don't remember anything from. Yeah, but yeah, there's delusional standards on a lot of sides. Women expecting men to pay for everything. There is a limit. You shouldn't be asking for $500, $1,000 meals. If you're hanging out with multi-millionaires and billionaires and they like that lifestyle, that's a bit different. But in general, it's not realistic that you're going to land that kind of person. And women these days can earn as much or more than men. I'd say probably most women in my country out-earn me. I'm not embarrassed by that. That's life. Good for them. But they can't expect me to, pay out of my ass and just allow them to, financially flower. I don't think that's right. So there's got to be some leeway. Some of these things have truth to them. And there's this kind of idea that, your husband's going to be super handsome, he's going to be this, be tall, he's going to be respected. I mean, most guys are just dudes. Just some dude doing a labour job. Some dude in a shop, some dude in a coffee shop, some dude in a restaurant, right? You are realistically just not going to date Mr. Self-Made millionaire who's also super fit and has all this time and has all these businesses and is super respected. It's just not realistic. He's going to sleaze you and you're going to end up in a fucked up situation as a result of it because you chased that. So just be realistic. If you land that Prince Charming, if you find someone who's relatively good to you, relatively good for you, don't overthink it. Don't think, well, this guy's 6'6" and you're 6'4", whatever bullshit. It's all bollocks. Just look more objectively. Like, is this more like good for my life? Are we on the same sort of track, roughly? You don't have to agree with absolutely everything. That's another thing people want. People want to find people who are specifically made and tailored to them. What's the fucking point of that? What's the fucking point of that? We might as well just be like all one big clay mold and just take the exact same measurement out and put them next to each other. You get me? Same colour, same everything. What's the fucking point? I don't want someone who conforms to me completely. I'd like someone who listens to me and respects me. As a woman or a man. Although I'm not a woman, so I don't know. I can't really make that comment, I guess. But trying to find someone who's an exact cookie cutter copy of yourself is very unrealistic, especially between male-female dynamic, because there's just a mental difference between genders. And B, just why would you want a cookie cutter version of yourself next to you, a complete clone of yourself next to you? Why would you want that? You've already got yourself, so you want some variation. You want to be aligned in your paths and like your vision, your shared vision of the future, roughly. But you don't want to have every single interest and every single thing in common, because then there's no difference between you and that other person. That's not love. That's clone incestuous symbiosis, in my opinion. But yeah, anyway, just making a video shitting on absolutely everything. But I should probably offer solutions. You know, I've ripped on everything, become really harsh about it all. Solutions are just people need to be ready to compromise again and to be realistic, realize you are generally not going to be the multi-millionaire, billionaire who will be the most beautiful, handsome person with the highest level of social respect, with the best experiences and the best food and the best deals and the best. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. I'm not saying that you're not capable of it, you, whoever you are, or me even. It's just that, you know, the world is based on averages. It's not based on these, you know, super successful people that you see on the feed. You know, the majority of people are, well, I'd say the majority of people earn about $6,000, $8,000, $9,000 a year or something, actually. But if you're looking globally, the average earnings are pretty fucking low, yeah. So that's the average person. That's the average person. Most people are just not going to make it. You know, they're just not going to be like superhero people, and that's okay. You've got to be realistic. You've got to look around and say this person's not a superhero, but they're quite nice. They're morally pretty aligned. I'm happy, and we're doing better week on week, so it's good. People need to learn to compromise. It lies in compromising and taking action now. Taking action and just getting a shitty job rather than not having one. Or like you want extra work, take the extra work. You want to sell some, then just do it. I'm not saying selling shit is the way to make money. I don't know. I don't really know. I'm not a super money man. I know some ways of making money, but I wouldn't do them myself because I don't believe in them. But actually taking action, getting out of the paralysis, the mental paralysis, will help. Everything's up for the taking because everyone's too scared to grab it. For me, it's not a thing of fear. I'm just not that interested. I'm a pretty simple guy. One of very few people who can look at life and say, I don't care that much about this material thing, this thing. I just kind of want to live life, have a bit of fun, relax from time to time, and that's not going to turn me into a billionaire, and that's fine by me. I accept that. So yeah, people need to compromise, be realistic as well. So like, for example, someone my age, yeah, a lot of guys, a lot of men on these podcasts are like, I would never date a single woman, a single mother. You should never date one. You're a loser. Blah 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 blah. It's very egotistical. I don't entirely disagree. You know, it's better to date someone who's not a single mother. But for someone my age who hasn't had kids, I tried to, but they didn't survive, unfortunately. My seed is too strong. But anyway, that's a bit of note. The thing is, at my age or older, you know, it's not realistic to think that someone else of equivalent age, a woman, is just going to give up her fertility waiting for me. That's just a terrible expectation. And, you know, you've got to look at the situation like, is the other guys, the father of this kid, going to also look after? Because, you know, I don't think it's fair for a woman to expect you to pay for every aspect of her child with another man. I think that's unfair. But I think, you know, there's got to be some look. You either accept that I have this kid and be nice, at least be nice to this kid and do something for this kid if you're going to be with me, because I am who I am and I've lived my life. I think that's fair. So I think compromising with, you know, like a single mother who's got one kid, maybe two kids, and having one or two kids of your own with that single mother, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's not the best outcome. Yeah, I'm not saying that it's the favourable outcome. I'm just saying that it's an okay choice. You know, you've got to compromise somewhere. Or you've got to compromise on your time and find some woman who's not put together and have the money and she just wants the status, and maybe she'll have a kid or maybe she won't or whatever. Yeah, but I just think people are getting very autistic about, very rigid, like it has to be this, it must be this exact thing and this exact thing and here's the formula. The formula doesn't work. Everybody is overthinking it, everybody's stuck in it. Just fucking do things, compromise, be realistic. Like with a job as well, you know. You need some source of income, right? You think in your head, you're going to sell this shit or that shit or whatever. Try it, to be honest, try it. If you can sell some random product or service and it's not immoral, go for it, right? But let's say it's not working out. You spent a couple months doing that. And the next step is to do the next silly thing and the next silly thing. Maybe you just shit at that. Maybe be pragmatic, get some income, some stable income, and with the rest of your time, get some unstable income, you know? When you have a better understanding of the corporate world and what people actually want. Because if you're selling dog food to starving Kenyans, they're not going to buy it. Yeah. But if you sell it on Hollywood Boulevard, you might make a lot of fucking money just for the convenience of it. Yeah. But it's something that sometimes you just need to wet the whistle, realize that it's not going to work out for you. It's okay to fail. I'm not saying don't try again. I'm not saying don't try to be ambitious. But I'm saying you have to be realistic. You got to pay bills. You got to try and get yourself ahead. You got to take, like, the shittier option is sometimes the better option. For example, getting over a girl or a guy or a relationship. Sometimes you want to go back and you have these ideas, but it's never going to be realistic, and you know that, but your heart won't let you. You've got to just be pragmatic and say, this hurts, this really hurts, this is going to suck for a month, 2 months, a year, and just do it anyway. Just accept the loss and get the next thing, do the next thing. You can't live in the past, and you can't completely pause your life. Like me, I paused my life. I'm living in this crappy, actually it's alright, it's $150 on Airbnb, and it's more or less a full house, so I can't really complain. But I'm on pause, I'm not doing much, so what do I do in my time? Well, I've spent a lot of time working hard and intensively learning different languages prior to this, so I spent quite a lot of time relaxing in the room, and, you know, going out and walking, making the most of my time. A lot of people think making the most of your time is being super productive. Actually, sometimes it's thinking about what you're going to do in life. Yeah? Now you could say I'm in paralysis because I'm overthinking. I'm not. I've got a set date when things are going to happen. I've applied for jobs, applied for work, and I've got a route. I've got everything figured out. The point is, I made a decision to take the time, took the time, thought about it, and then actioned it. I didn't sit here and say I could refine it, I could do this. Everything could always be better, but if you're striving for, if you over perfect things, you don't get anything done. So you've got to at some point say, this is a good enough plan, this is a good enough thing, and just take an opportunity that's not as good as you were hoping it was, but it's still good enough. More than good enough is great, honestly. You build on that, you compound on that, you'll be fine. I've got through my entire life blagging, not blagging as in lying, but like just winging it. just winging it, and I've made it. Yeah, you can say some bits were good, some bits were bad. Things shouldn't always be perfect. You shouldn't always be chasing dopamine, feeling amazing. Sometimes you should feel shit because, life isn't always great, and sometimes you have these realizations about yourself or the rest of the world, or the world just fucks you. And that's to be expected. You've got to expect to fail and to feel bad. You can't expect to feel bliss. But yeah, anyway, bit of a ramble now. So this has been about like expectations and reality, I would say.